Welcome to this quick orientation for first year brand new students starting out in computer programming, our 2 year program, or the 3 year with co op computer programming and analysis diploma programs here at Niagara College. Just let me quickly introduce myself. My name is David Stovall. I'm one of the full-time faculty members servicing these two programs, but I'm also functioning as the program coordinator. So you'll see my email there on the screen. Feel free if you have any questions at all following this presentation to email me, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. In addition to myself, we have a great stable of full-time faculty dedicated to the program. There's Peter, Cliff, Marcia, Melissa, and Shinshaw, but I'll leave it to them to introduce themselves when classes begin next week. Quickly, though, I'll mention as well that in addition to the full-time faculty, we have a great collection of part-time professors that come and they teach. They're often still working in industry, but they lend their expertise and experience to help us round out the education that you will receive. So speaking of education, though, what are you going to learn in this program, right? Let's talk about that for a minute. Well, we do focus on fundamentals, starting with fundamental programming languages. Some of these I'm certain you've heard of, things like JavaScript, Python, Java, and so on, right? We do a lot of work with those and others are and things like that. But I'll mention right now the focus is mostly on the C sharp language. But what you learn in C sharp, you can easily transfer to other languages like C++ and many others. In fact, all the skills you're learning are highly transferable. So it makes actually little difference in the end which languages you learn first, because the concepts are pretty much universal among all of them. Worth mentioning as well, you see SQL, SQL mentioned there. That's the primary programming language used in relational databases throughout the world. So we do quite a bit of work with SQL at the same time. Now, we do a lot of focus on best practices, whether it's modern web development or development for PC. We do a lot of work with mobile device applications as well, right? So there's much to learn and much to do. But coming back again to databases, database design and implementation, right? We work with everything from the smallest little databases like SQLite that you might find on a mobile device like the one in your pocket, right through to big data clusters using things like Hadoop and so on. And we do a lot of work, especially with those large database systems in the cloud, right? So you'll be getting accounts for both Amazon Web Services and you'll be doing a lot with Microsoft's Azure. These cloud-based systems are really the key to not just managing data, but even creating back-end data stores for applications of all sizes and types. Okay, so is this a good choice, this program? I can say resoundingly yes. I'm quite confident in that. Um, we focus very much on experiential learning. Now, I should say that the actual mission statement of Niagara College itself is that to give you as much experiential learning as possible. What does that really mean? It means rolling up your sleeves, getting in there into the mud and the dirt and getting dirty, right? Working with your hands, so to speak, literally and figuratively. So we learn by doing, building, and playing, as I say here, right? We get in there and you get an awful lot of experience. In fact, in particular, I'll mention we have a capstone course in term 4 where you'll have an opportunity to build an actual application for real world clients, giving you a full development life cycle experience, right? And that then in the end gives you something you can put on your resume, have links maybe to the application running up there, out there in the world. If you can't actually access for security reasons the client's implementation of your application, you'll probably still have the mock-up for it running up on Azure or wherever, and you can put that on your resume, put it in your portfolio, and it's a great way to kind of show off what you've learned while you're here at the college, right? And of course, in particular, there's also the co-op opportunity if you're in the 3 year CPA program, right? I should mention as well that not only is this co-op a great opportunity to put your skills to work for an employer, but you'll get a paid co-op as well. So that doesn't hurt. And students can easily switch back and forth between the two programs as well, the CP, the 2 year and the 3 year CPA program. In fact, let me explain for a moment before we go on exactly how that works. The first 2 years are essentially common between the two, right? So it makes it easy for people to decide to switch. So after the first 2 years are done, then the next term over the summer is the co-op term, and then you come back for one final academic term that basically ends in December. So you graduate with your 3 year diploma if you're in that program months before people coming from other colleges around the area, right? So it's a great advantage the way it's laid out that way. Now, in terms of switching back and forth, because of the common 2 years, it means you can pretty much do so anytime up to the end of the second year. You can decide that you want to switch to one or the other. Now, why would you do so? Well, I can tell you from experience, we've had a number of students that after the 2 years, maybe it was in their co op or in a different job, they got an opportunity to accept a great job offer. Well, normally, if you don't finish a diploma program, you don't get a piece of paper, right? But what you can do, students in that situation, is they can switch their program, take their 2 year diploma from Niagara College, from this computer programming program, and off they go in their career, right? They don't have to walk away empty handed. Now, more often, though, to be honest with you, we have students switching the other direction from the CP to the CPA program. They find they're really enjoying what they're doing and they see the value in getting the third year if their circumstances allow them to do so. So, either way, you can switch quite easily between them. Something else definitely worth mentioning. Niagara College, you may not be aware, is one of the foremost research colleges in the country, right? So our applied research department makes extensive use of students in our programs and even graduates from our programs, right? So you can get paid work while you're still a student in the program with Niagara Research, and they'll often every year hire students graduating from the program to continue working in NAGA research. I think there is a time limit. I think it's up to 18 months that you're allowed to work at NAGA research following graduation as well. But, it again is a great opportunity to get additional work experience before you go out and start competing in the job world. Okay. Speaking of working in the job world, we have excellent job placement results and satisfaction. Students are satisfied, employers are satisfied, everyone's happy. It's a true win win, helping to make it a really good choice. Now, let's just ask this: do you have what it takes? That's a question we all wonder coming into any new program, any new endeavor. The number one thing I would say it takes is a willingness to learn. This is a constantly evolving field, right? So you've got to be willing to become that classic phrase, a lifelong learner, because there's always going to be new things coming out, right? The latest things we're having are things in terms of artificial intelligence and so on, but we're going to learn how to use that as a tool, not to be afraid of it replacing us in our work, just to help us make more effective in our work, right? So you got to be willing to learn and adjust and take on new things as they come along. You don't have to be a math whiz. I'm mentioning that because sometimes students talk to me and they're a little bit afraid, says, I did okay in math, but I'm not quite ready for advanced calculus or whatever, and they're a little bit nervous that that's going to be involved. Well, great if you have those skills, but really more important to be a successful programmer are good problem solving skills. That's what really it comes through. If you can kind of logically approach any situation, then that's more important than being a super advanced mathematical whiz, right? Another thing that really helps is if you have a passion for it. And most students already know that they love working with computers. They like working with computer software, right? But, they've never had much experience in many cases and they don't really know if they're good at programming. Well, you'd often be surprised, right? We've seen students come through with all different backgrounds, really finding that they could excel at computer programming, whether they're artists, musicians in particular. For some reason, I don't know, in my experience, a lot of people who with a musical background seem to just do really well. Can't explain it, but that's just an observation I've seen over the years. But we have people come from all different trades, even theologians and so on. So the list goes on and on, but all kinds of backgrounds. As long as you have a passion for it and want to learn, you're going to be able to do well. Of course, I will say this, there is hard work. Talk to any of the current students and you'll find out they'll say, oh my gosh, the amount of work involved. Well, yes, be prepared for that, but ask a lot of questions and try to have fun, and that will help you to succeed in the program as well. Now, a few frequently asked questions. Financial support. I mean, obviously, that's important to each and every one. So, in addition to OSAP, there are lots of scholarships and bursaries, right? So I've got links in the announcement to go along with this video. You can follow those links or just search for scholarships and bursaries on the Niagara College website. Some are specific to the CPE, CPA program. Others are general ones. Apply for as many as you possibly can. Just check for application deadlines. Often within the first month of the term, the deadlines are up. So don't leave it till later on, right? Get on this right away. Another question that people have is, how powerful a computer do I need at home? Well, we provide computers in all of our labs, and access can be arranged to work in the labs even after hours, right? But obviously there is an advantage to having a good computer to work on, whether it's a laptop or a computer at home. There are recommendations. If you look at the program website, you'll see there's recommendations there for the type of hardware you might want to get. Generally speaking, the college recommends a Windows laptop or desktop, at least 16 gigs of RAM and a nice fast hard drive, right? Other than that, personally, I used to always be dedicated to a Intel i7 CPU, but actually I'm running an i5 right now and it works just fine. So as long as it's a fairly current computer, then you should be fine. Now, another question that students often ask is about if, hey, I have a Mac, right, instead of a Windows laptop or whatever. Well, that's perfectly fine. We have a number of students successfully going through the program that have a Mac, and there's ways to run Windows on it and the software that we need on it. So you will be okay. But if you're just shopping for a computer, I would direct you. You're more likely going to find your life will be a little bit easier unless you're a dedicated Mac person already, if you go with a Windows computer. Okay. Is it easy to switch? Well, we've already talked about this, but I find that students often come back and ask more questions. So yes, it's easy to switch between the 2 and 3 year programs, and that's something that you do want to uh, consider as time goes on, because right up to the end of the second year, you can easily switch between the two. Okay. Now, there's an awful lot more than just what we've talked about in this brief video, but just go to the schedule at orientation.niagaracollege.ca. You'll see that there's a whole bunch of activities going on, things that you can participate in. I would, in particular, draw your attention to one. Right? There's a special co-op information session. It's a virtual session you can join. It starts online at 10:30 a.m. on Tuesday, September 5th. The link to join is right on that schedule there. So go to the orientation website, click on the schedule page, and you'll find the co-op information session listed there with the link to join. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, if you have any other questions about either of the two programs, right, then please feel free to reach out and I will get back to you. And I'm looking forward to working with you. I have to confess that I probably won't be teaching you the first term, maybe a little bit in the second term, but definitely everyone will have a chance to work with me. I will have a chance to work with every one of you before you graduate. All right, well, thank you and all the best.